You are hitting targets, signing contracts, and still feel rudderless because everything depends on control and micromanagement? With leadership coach Ken Sher, author of the book What's Trust Got to Do with It, we confront micromanagement and we explore trust as the foundation for authentic success and relationships that let you flourish in business and life. Join, like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and DM Future to continue this conversation. My name is Arjan Visser, human-centered futurist and your host. Ken, welcome to the A.L.T Journey podcast. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. I think it's my first international podcast, so I'm excited about that.
Okay, well, we keep it English, so it should not be any different.
Okay, great.
But thanks for your time. And I want to start with a what if question. And that's actually, what if the ability to take charge of your future doesn't begin with control, but it begins with trust?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and I think that I believe it has to begin with trust, and the trust first starts with trusting yourself, trust that you have the right values, trust that you have the right vision of where you want to go, and trust that you will get there. Because I think, like with a lot of things, if it doesn't start with yourself, you can't expect other people to have that same feeling or thoughts about you. So, in order to be trusted, I think you have to start first with trusting yourself.
Yeah. That well, in the old journey, we always explore authentic leadership transformation. That's where
Hmm.
the acronym ALT stands for,
Hmm.
which is that leading from the inside out, but also finding the alignment between who we are created to be and who we are becoming. And that
Hmm.
requires something deeper than ambition.
Yes.
It
Hmm.
requires trust, like you said, and
Hmm.
trust in, and you mentioned in your values, your identity, and your direction.
Yes.
So let me ask, where does trust show up when someone is trying to redefine success on their own terms?
Hmm. Yeah, I think trust, it shows up in the relationships you have, the relationships you're able to develop. Because I do believe that trust is the foundation of great relationships, and that great relationships are the key to success. It's very rare, if even possible at all, for a person to do it on their own. They need to work with other people, whether it's colleagues, peers, clients, to be successful. So and I think it shows up in the relationships you have. And one of the things that I think you mentioned was I have what I call the trust success model, and an acronym. Trust is it stands for transparency, results, understanding, simplicity, and teams. And within each aspect of that, I believe it's the opportunity to build trust. It's the T plus R plus U plus S plus T equals trust. When you're transparent, both with yourself, being honest with yourself about your capabilities, your what you want to achieve, and transparent with others, not holding information back. When you're clear on the results you want to achieve, the expectations for yourself and others. When you understand where other people are coming from and where they want to go. When you can simplify things so that the focus is on the right priorities, and when you build a team, whether it's a team of 2, 3, or 10, where everybody's in it together, you get this feeling of trust and this energy that I think it's hard to manufacture, but you know it when you have it. So I think it can be exciting.
So does that mean that trust is, with the acronym like you explained it, are the conditions to take charge of your own future, or is it actually a turning point?
Hmm. It's interesting, and maybe it's the conditions that leads to a turning point. I think when people, as I said, I think it always starts with yourself, and that's the transparency part. I think transparency with yourself, understanding who you are, who you want to be, and then being able to really and trust yourself that that that's the right way to go and that you're going to do everything you can to get there. Um, so I think it's an overall way of life, whether it's business or personal. Trust to me also kind of equals authenticity. When you're open and honest with people and sharing and caring about other people in an authentic way, I think that builds those relationships that does lead to success.
It makes me think that trust is actually a currency, a relational exchange,
Hmm.
because it's not just trusting in myself, my own abilities. It's also how I show up and interact with others.
Yes. And I think that's difficult to do, especially these days. Sadly, it's there's a lack. I think there's a lack of trust. I mean, you could see it in a lot of publications, a lot of the writings, and you could see it, unfortunately, in some of our leaders that you can't trust them. And when there's no trust, it kind of makes you feel rudderless. I think when you don't have someone or something you can trust in and believe in. Um, it's really hard to feel whole. I think it kind of there's a lost feeling when you're not sure that the people you're dealing with or looking to are being um, truthful with you. So I think it's not a I agree with you about a currency, but I don't think it's not transactional. You're either going to be a trusting person and in a trusting relationship or not. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe a better word is that there is a mutual dimension around it.
Mm, yes.
And that really
Mm,
depends, of course, also of your mindset.
mm,
If, if,
yeah.
if you feel that you belong to a group, and
Hmm.
in that setting, if it's your the business you work for, church, the local community, if you feel that your identity is sustained by being part of such a dynamic, your belonging in the group,
Hmm.
then trust disconnects you from that group, disconnects you from belonging.
Hmm. Yeah.
If you have another mindset, a mindset of life is happening for me, then the
Hmm.
belonging is not in the group, but belonging is in you. And trust
Hmm.
is how you interact with the people. So when the trust disappears, that means that there's an interruption in the interaction.
Hmm.
But it's you are not going all the way down to survival mode and feel instantly that you are on the losing end in the relationship.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. If you're trusting, even if things aren't going exactly as you want, or you or things just don't work out, if you have trust and it's based in fact and reality, it's a little easier to bear because it's not that someone was trying to do something to you or trying to get away with something or misleading you. If you know they had the best intent in mind, it's a little easier to handle. I also think, and you mentioned something that triggered in my head, when you trust or you build relationships on trust, I think that's part of a growth mindset because you are putting your faith, you are making yourself a little bit vulnerable, but open to change, open to sharing ideas and getting ideas and being influenced by others. I think when you're cynical and you're not trusting of people or you don't have a good relationship, it's hard for you to commit. It's hard for you to really put yourself out there because you're going to always have a little bit of a fixed mindset, a defensive mode to protect yourself. And I think understandably so.
Absolutely. In a fixed mindset, you would trust someone based on the expectations you set. And the moment the
Mhm.
person doesn't meet your expectations, then it's a direct attack to your trust level.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah.
And we know through life that we did it again. We put expectations on someone and we set ourselves up for disappointment.
Yeah. And that's hard because I don't know. I do think you have to. You have to be willing to know that. you're going to put trust in people sometimes that's not going to be warranted. But personally, I feel it beats the alternative of I just don't for I don't see leading a life of distrust or wondering what the other person is up to. What are they trying to get out of me? I just don't think that's a good or healthy way to live, let alone conduct business.
I agree. I totally agree. And unfortunately, we always say a contract is a manifestation of distrust. Uh,
Right.
but as humans, we interact with each other, and you mentioned like I have to put faith in someone and also be trustworthy myself.
Hmm.
So that leads me to this. I would nearly say old word faithfulness
Hmm.
of that there has to be a faithfulness that goes two ways, and it's
Hmm.
like loyalty. You know, you have to be loyal to the other, but you can only be loyal to the other if you remain loyal to yourself, and vice
Hmm.
versa.
Yeah.
And that builds trust over time.
Hmm.
So it's not something that you just find, give, receive. It's
Hmm.
something that
Right.
builds and increases over time, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you and I, we met once before this, but I think we did quickly establish a relationship where, I'm excited and appreciative to be on your show, and I have trust in what I saw in you and your character that it's going to be a fair and interesting conversation, and I'm I'm willing to be a relatively open book and talk to you about anything that you're interested in talking about. So, and I think as we continue to talk, that faith gets even stronger. So, I do agree with that. It does grow.
Well, it's always good to recognize that we are practicing it ourselves and not just talking about it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it redefines in a way our perception and anticipation of what success looks like.
Hmm.
Because now the success is that we both flourish, we both thrive,
Hmm.
instead of do we both win from it. You know,
Yeah. Hmm.
and I think that is really one of the opportunities that open up when we have
Hmm.
this healthy relationship with trust between us, having trust, loyalty
Hmm.
to ourselves. And then there is this moment that we have to face that actually what we thought that was success,
Hmm.
it actually, in our leadership journey, success changes, the definition changes.
Hmm.
Something
Yeah.
after being successful, we notice that maybe it doesn't give the fulfillment as we expected. So something begins to shift inside of us, and we
Hmm.
actually long something more.
Yeah.
Personally, I believe that is found in taking really serious and putting priority to find out who we are becoming, and
Hmm.
then we have this. We hate it. I think. Well, I do. When my coach tells me trust the process, I don't
Hmm.
like it. When I
Yeah.
use that language, trust the process, it's in most scenarios the only answer, because with hindsight, you will understand and not
Hmm.
at the start. So
Yeah.
trust goes really deep in personal desires and appetite, and
Hmm.
personal growth.
Yeah.
It's a scary, scary thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's so.
Well,
How
trust.
does how do we redefine success?
Yeah, and just to what you're saying, I think trust does require a good amount of vulnerability. You're putting your faith, beyond you in yourself, but also in others. If you're trusting others, you're making yourself vulnerable. Um, I think in terms of defining success, few years back, I was going through some struggles where my business was kind of up and down and probably more down at the time. And I was talking to a friend of mine and saying, I just don't feel like I'm successful. I feel like I'm failing. And he asked me the same question: how do you define success? And it got me thinking, um, about where is my life right now? And I thought about my lifestyle. I thought about my wife and my kids and my grandkids, and I thought about, um, frankly, where my life has gone compared to some other people, and I realized that success isn't all about compensation and how much money I'm making right now and how my business is going. That I have to look around and really appreciate and recognize that I'm in this position I'm in now where I have a nice roof over my head. I could feed my family. I can help other people. And to me, that's success, even if the money is not pouring in. So I think you also have to have realistic expectations of success. Otherwise, you might never achieve happiness either. If my definition of success is only me making X amount of dollars per year, and I don't achieve that, does that mean I'm a failure? And if I'm a failure, what does that do to me internally? How do I feel? And how do I present myself to the world? So I think people need to look at success um, beyond the end goal that they have. Even just one other thing, and I don't want to ramble too long. When I was at Johnson and Johnson, we used to say, you may achieve your goal, the ultimate goal you had for that project or program or whatever. But if you left bodies in your wake, that's not a success. So to me, that's an example of we achieved our monetary goal, but we hurt people along the way. We maybe misled people along the way. Maybe we did things that weren't ethical. That's not good. And that's not success.
The word that jumps out is the word achievement.
Mhm.
The moment we make success a, like a synonym for achievement,
Mhm.
we lose actually trust.
Yeah.
We get
Mm.
into a fear-based environment, and out of fear of not achieving, we will leave bodies behind.
We'll do whatever we can think we have to do,
Exactly.
right?
And then we have in Dutch we have this saying that as long as we achieve the goal, it doesn't matter what we do along the way.
Mm.
And that is of course the opposite of trust. It actually breaks down trust.
Mhm. Yeah. And it also will limit the amount of success I think you can have because fool me once, okay, shame on what is it? Shame on you, right? Fool me twice, shame on me. So if you do something that makes me not trust you or not or you to not trust me, it's going to be hard for us to commit to be successful in other ways in other programs.
And
By the way, speaking of success, congratulations. I saw that Dutch skater, the two of them last night were amazing with their speed skating. That
thank
looks
you. Yeah,
fantastic.
it's not my achievement. I trust them.
Well, but
Uh,
it's your country. You should be proud.
yeah,
Big
yeah.
proud.
Thank you. Well, actually, listening to your answer, I think like it's a leadership thing, but it's not
Hmm.
leadership development. It's actually our personal growth. That
Hmm.
and in our personal growth, we expand our capacity to have more trust, give more trust, and be more faithful and trustworthy.
Hmm.
But that means that it's really a subject. It's intentional. It just doesn't happen over time. That
Hmm.
there is an intention to expand our capacity to trust, be more vulnerable, but also take more risk in uh,
Yes.
in our adventures.
Hmm. And I think that's a key point, for sure, because I think where leaders they may think they trust or and are trusted, but when they hold things close to the vest, when they don't give room for their people to do their work, to maybe even fail, then that's not trust. I think a lot of times I'll have conversations with my clients, and they won't. They hire people to do a job, and yet they're always telling them what to do, how to do it. Sometimes they're jumping in to do it. And not only is that bad for them because they're not able to do their role as a leader to be more strategic and more direct, lead the company direction, but it prevents that person from growing and developing. And it also says to that person, I don't trust you to do this job. That's why I'm looking over your shoulder. To me, the opposite of trust is micromanagement. I'm going to look over your shoulder. I'm going to make sure you do it right because I don't trust that you can do it right. But if I'm saying to someone, here it is, you got the job, you do it the way you think is best, I'll coach you along the way. I'm expecting that it'll be successful, but if not, we're going to learn from it. And the next time we will be successful. To me, that's trust.
Trust is the opposite of micromanagement.
Mm.
So that means that I can't use the trust in a sentence like, I trust you will do it my way.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That they kind of go against each other, the first part of that sentence and the second. Hmm. Yeah.
And how many times do we use that language?
Yeah.
And as a false term of empowering people, but
Hmm.
actually we are still micromanaging them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how much do we uh, limit the space, like you mentioned, for the other people to be themselves, become themselves, expand, express,
Hmm.
learn, because they are fully reacting out of their coping mechanisms. I have to meet expectation. I don't trust my own instincts, so I will do
Hmm.
it your way, dear manager.
Right. And there's no growth in that if you keep doing things the same way. I mean, certainly if it's successful, you want to keep it, but things change, things evolve, and you want people that not only have the ability to do that, to innovate or take initiative to maybe do something differently, but have the trust that they know they could trust that the leader's not going to be upset or give them a hard time because they're not doing it their way, or maybe even if it fails. I think that's really probably one of the big areas where a leader is unable to give their full trust and let people go because what if the project fails? What if something fails? And I ask my clients, and you probably do the same. So, what happens if it does fail? What is the worst case scenario if that project fails? Now, if it's catastrophic, then maybe you do need to step in. But usually, it's more of a learning experience than anything.
But this makes it an organic um, organizational development topic
Mhm.
and no longer um, something that supports the outroll of blueprints, the scale up formula. It makes it actually human centered
Mhm.
instead
Yeah.
of outcome oriented. It
Yeah.
makes it rewarding in versus punishment
Mhm.
and limitation, but it demands of a leader to trust yourself that it all will be all right when everyone starts to step up in who they are becoming, what they
Mhm.
their crazy thoughts they have that will birth brilliant ideas.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's empowerment. That's creating a safe environment, not only emotionally but also cognitive.
Yeah. Yes. I think absolutely, and I think it's also an argument for having diverse teams, and to have some of those people that I don't understand how they're thinking or where they're coming from, but that's gonna challenge me, and I know they've got the background and the experience that will give us different ideas, and again, trusting that a different idea or a different perspective is okay, as opposed to, as you said earlier, "I trust you as long as you do it my way." Again, that's not a growth mindset. If everything is predicated on one person's perspective, it's going to be hard to really have a lot of success. And one other thing, actually, because you're really, I'm really enjoying this conversation, Ajahn. You have some really insightful questions, and you're making me think about it. Um, so different thoughts have come through my head, and I just lost another one, but it'll come back to me again. And I'll make sure to get it out that time.
Well, let's make it practical then. So if people will feel invited for that, they have to move in a way from fear to trust, from
Mhm,
a mindset of I'm at the mercy of circumstances to no, it's happening for me. So how do
mm,
people move actually from that feeling to be at the mercy of circumstances to actively shaping their future?
mhm. Yeah, that's a it does start with trust again, right? But I think it goes to you have to get outside of yourself. You mentioned earlier, and I totally agree. You got to start with trusting yourself. But in order to fulfill your full potential, I think you have to allow other people in. You have to look for mentors or even colleagues that do have different perspectives, do have different ways of looking at things, that are willing to take chances and learn from them and grow from them and know how that could fit into your approach to things. But I don't think in today's world, the days back in with General Motors here in the U.S. where Jack Welch he told everybody what to do and how to do it. I don't think. Well, I know that doesn't work anymore, and especially with the diversity that every business has and clients and employees and all. I think you do have to be open to accepting other perspectives, and I think that helps you grow as an individual.
That actually means that we are surrounded by people not based on skills or outcome, but we are more interacting with with peers
Mhm,
based on mindset, on perspective.
mhm.
Maybe the word purpose is actually just the foundation of why we are peers and working together. And
Yeah.
that's totally that's a revolution versus the productivity factory way of organizing things.
Yeah.
It gives us it gives us a total perspective on jobs and resumes
Mhm.
because it's no longer just about skills. Skills
Yeah.
are an attribute, but skills are not the dominant factor
Mhm.
in why we should work and be together.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. In fact, interestingly, I got a request for commentary, I guess, from a publication about how in 2026 should companies be formulating their job postings. And that was one of the things I talked to is like, yes, skills are important, but today the skills are changing so quickly. The skills you need change so quickly, but as technology changes. So you need to have people that have a different kind of mindset and different, you want to look at people whose experiences are varied enough so you know that when they're in this role and things inevitably change, they're able to go with that and roll with that and continue um, to be to help things move in the right direction. And I think related to that, I think the one thought I had that came back to me is that I always grew up with, you set a goal and you go keep that goal in mind. You have it written above your desk so you see it every day and you focus on that, focus on that. And I do believe in goals. You have to have goals and all. But I think you need to focus more on how you're getting to those goals. If you focus on the things you need to do, you will achieve that goal. But if you just focus on the goal, just as an example, when I was in sales, I've got to make money. I'm going to make sales to make money. Well, if I'm focusing on that, I'm not in tune with my clients' needs, and I'm not going to be successful because I'm not giving them what they need or want. When I start focusing on my clients' needs, the goal takes care of itself. At least that's always been my experience.
Yeah, and you mentioned already authenticity, and at the beginning we talked about your values, and I think
Mhm.
that